Yeah, just happy to see everybody. Happy everybody's here. Thanks for joining. Really excited to have Linda, and he's going to do a formal introduction, but Linda's a member of our chapter, and just really excited that we've got a member presenting tonight. And Carmen Act is also, she also presented to us, so keep that in mind. Everybody's welcome. Just get in touch with Nahid and her programming committee and enjoy it. Over to you, Nahid.
Okay, great. Well, so I've known Linda personally for more than a decade now. We've been colleagues, friends. We taught a class at Chapman together. And one of the things, for me, Linda's kind of a staple as a speaker. Like if I can get her, I always want to get Linda. And the reason is because Linda is one of the greatest teachers that I know, because she's one of the greatest learners that I know. One of the things that I noticed right away about Linda is she's very conscientious about looking into the background of some of these assessments we use and really doing some deep learning around them, doing the research, kind of understanding how these tools got developed. And so, if you're working through something with Linda, you know that she has thoroughly researched it. You know that she understands the context behind it. And you know that it's really reliable, the process that you're going through. So Linda has been working on immunity to change for easily 5 years. And Linda, you can correct me once I pass it over to you. And I've done some immunity to change maps with her. It's just been a really profound experience. I think this is a powerful tool for self-development, and I'm really excited to go over it. Before I pass it over to Linda, I want to read her formal bio. Linda is an executive coach, leadership development specialist, and organizational development consultant. She's a qualified coach in the immunity to change process through Minds at Work, a certified facilitator, and she attended the collective commitment training in the immunity to change process taught by Harvard University professors Dr. Robert Kegan and Dr. Lisa Lahey. In addition, Linda is a certified integral coach through New Ventures West and has been an ICF PCC since 2007. She's been in the field of coaching and exploring changing mindsets for more than 25 years. Linda's favorite resources are the Immunity to Change and the Leadership Circle. She holds a master's degree from the University of San Francisco. And in her spare time, Linda serves on the board of trustees for the OD Network, where she's currently the chair of professional development. And she also volunteers as an ITC coach, Immunity to Change coach, through New Profit Future of Work. Linda is very active on LinkedIn. So if you're not already connected to her, you want to make sure that you get connected to her. And I'd like to now pass it to my very good friend and respected colleague, Linda Denton.
Okay, thank you. That was a lot. We should have said something shorter. Now, Nahid, when I get my slides, I'm just going to go to slide share since they're already up. Okay. Okay, so let me go. Well, first of all, would you put in chat if you have had experience with ITC, the Immunity to Change? Write down if you've used it before or if you have no idea what I'm talking about. So I have a general idea what the knowledge is. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Kevin. No idea. Have not used it. Okay, Petra, a little familiar. Oh, Sheila. Hi, Sheila. No idea. Very little. I've used it and I went to online course. Is that Nahid? Yeah. No idea. Have the book. Oh, it's kind of hard just to learn it through the book. I read quite a bit about it. This is Tamara. Okay, so you've been reading Kegan's material, Robert Kegan? Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is very helpful because this, let me get started. Now I'm trying to figure out which one I pick. So when I do share screen, I'll make sure I'm doing the right one. Is this right?
This is just your slide. Yes.
Perfect. Okay. I was teaching myself way too much tech stuff today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the ITC process, and we're going to go step by step. We'll have one breakout session for you to have a chat. And what I'm going to do is go a little deeper into the material. And I still have, I want to make sure I get through all of it so that you have an understanding of the whole arc of immunity to change. So my experience, I'll give you a little more context. So I happen to be somebody that loves developmental processes that really go deep with clients and that really look at really changing mindsets and changing behaviors. The immunity to change is one of those resources that does that. It's considered a developmental process. Robert Kegan and Lisa Lahey are the authors of the map, but Kegan has been studying adult development since 1980. And basically, he came into this as a psychologist and followed the work of Jean Piaget, who was a Swiss psychologist and studied children in development. And so Kegan became interested in looking at this idea that adults also developed, and they had a continuum of development after childhood. So just to give you a little context. So, and the whole idea behind this also is this idea that change is hard, and that, let me just see, I can't quite see this, I'm gonna move people around here, that change is hard. And so just to get an idea about how hard change is, think about that New Year's resolution that you made or friends of yours made to lose weight, eat healthier, be more assertive, or maybe a goal you made that you couldn't sustain. And the idea is it's perfectly normal as part of our development to get in our own way when we decide to make a change about something that's personal to us. And just for fun, I want to read something that Kegan posted on LinkedIn about a month ago. And he has kind of snarky humor, so bear with me. He said, human beings are wired for two endeavors. The first is to grow, the second is not to die. Two big endeavors to pursue our future evolution and to protect ourselves from loss. Any approach that does not engage our two big endeavors, no matter how good and comfortable it may be temporarily or may feel temporarily, is moving against the bigger forces of the universe. Any approach that joins our two big endeavors, no matter how uncomfortable it may temporarily be, is aligned with our destiny to reach without drowning in the process our future shores. Now, the reason I read that is because this is an uncomfortable process. And I've been using it. I probably have shared this with, I don't know, 300 people. I gave it to about 100 people the first year that I learned it. And sometimes people will say, well, it feels negative. It has that sense. And it isn't negative. What it is it's developmental, and it's challenging you to look at your development in a different way. So let's go. So here's what we'll be doing today. We're going to look at having you create your own map. You're going to notice the unique way of processing and resisting change. So we all have our unique way of resisting change. You'll select one big assumption to explore, and I'll explain what that is when we get to it. And then I'm going to show you how to design and interpret a test. And a test is when you begin to poke at your big assumption. And let's go to the next one. This is just to give you a sense of the different ways of approaching change. So I put this focus of this program is focused on coaches. And the reason is because your role, our role as coaches, is to help people change and support their development. And that's really what we're doing most of the time is our clients come to us, they want to change something about themselves, they want to develop something. And so we're helping them do that. And this is a pretty classic work by Ronald Hochstead and Donald Laurie, looking at the difference between technical change and adaptive change. And basically, just a high overview, technical change provides a set of guidelines to do things differently, solve problems by reading a book, listening to a podcast, or motivational speaker. It doesn't change the container of who you are. It's technical, standard operating procedures. Everybody does things in a similar way. Fixing a broken computer, building a car. Adaptive change is about changing the container of who you are. It's about changing your mindsets and associated behaviors. And this requires us to think differently about what we are doing and requires a change in mindset. So if you think about it from this way, if you went to the doctor and the doctor said to you, you need to lose 25 pounds, you have high blood pressure, and which of those two things do you think the doctor could do for you? Doctor couldn't do any of it. And if you read a book, if you decide to read a book or watch a podcast, it wouldn't change your behavior. It might give you some insights, but it's not going to change your behavior to begin to do those things if you have a resistance to them. Okay. Now I'm going to slow down right here. I'll move this up a little bit. Okay. So this is the map, and I'm going to walk you through the map. So I'm going to stop for questions in a minute. Your map is going to look a little different than mine, because mine has a column of warm-up notes. But I'll call out the columns so you know what I'm talking about. So this is we're going to actually go through a map of somebody that was one of my clients. And I'm just calling her Mary for purposes of, I have a name. And so the first thing we're going to do, well, let me walk through the map first. So the map is warm-up notes. We'll do your self-improvement goal, what you're doing or not doing against the goal, competing commitments, big assumption. And we're starting at the left and we're working to the right. And I'll keep bringing this back so that you understand what it is. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is you're going to write on your map, and write on the back of it if you have a map that doesn't have a column for warm-up notes. And you're going to pick an improvement goal that is only about you, that if you were to succeed might make a better version of you. And this goal could make a difference in your life. And it might be a goal you pursued in the past without success. Some ideas, if you're stuck with thinking about ideas, might be to be a better listener, to exercise more, eat healthier, stop procrastinating, be more decisive, be more assertive, have more self-confidence. I'm going to stop for a second. Do you have questions about this? So what you're going to do on the warm-up is you're going to put a couple notes about a potential self-improvement goal. And the way we're going to walk through this is I'll give you 90 seconds of silence, and then I'll ring a bell when time's up. And we're going to go through this step by step. So you'll have 90 seconds to write some notes. I'll ring the bell, say stop, and then we'll go to the next slide or answer questions. Okay, anybody have questions? You want to put them in chat? Are we good? That's the one thing I don't think I can see is chat. You're muted, Lahey.
I'm looking at chat, and so far there are no questions.
Okay, good.
Oh, right. Oh, someone says write in our Word document, correct?
Yeah,
So-
you can write on it. Don't write your ideas under step 1. Just write them on the back of the document or somewhere else, or just jot them somewhere it won't get in your way. But yeah, you want to put it, just a couple notes basically is all you're going to write, just so that then you can write the self-improvement goal. And I refer to these as steps. You can call them columns or you can call them goals. So any of those work. So I'll be using all 3 terms. Okay, so, oops, I forgot my, to set my timer. Okay, 90 seconds to jot down a few notes. So you want to make sure you have some notes so you can create your self-improvement goal. And you'll need information in each box or each step in order to get to the end of this. Okay. I have chimes too, but I decided this cute little bell. I use that. Okay, now let's look at your self-improvement goal. So this is step 1, self-improvement goal. This is your commitment. Get my little annotate out. So right here, you're going to be writing your self-improvement goal. Yeah. And this is Mary's self-improvement goal, is I'm committed to getting better at deeply listening to my clients rather than consulting, giving advice, interrupting. Just be with whatever my client is expressing. So that's her self-improvement goal. And then just to give it some additional criteria, the level of importance on a scale of 1 to 5, you want your goal to be a 4 or a 5. So this is just writing down a simple goal. This starts with I'm getting better at. That's how you start it, then you put the goal. So I'm going to give you another minute and a half to write your goal, and then we'll look at questions. Okay, so go ahead and start. So remember, this goal is only about you. It's not about anybody else. It's just about you. Okay, does everybody have a goal? Does anybody have any questions? Want to pop in chat? No? I found chat so I can see it.
I'm keeping track of chat. Yeah.
Okay, thank
You're
you.
getting kudos for the bell.
Kudos. It's
But
kind of
so
fun.
far, everyone seems to be doing well.
Everybody's doing good. Okay. Okay. Now we're going to move to the next column. Okay. So part of what I'm going to be doing is when I give you some direction, I'm going to ask you to trust me and follow the direction. Even if it sounds counterintuitive or weird or it doesn't make sense. It's just, you can ask questions, but follow the directions. This column is where we're going to notice what you're doing and not doing that goes against your goal. These are behaviors and they're observable. That's why I have the little icon up here that looks like somebody could videotape what you're doing. So if you had this little icon camera sitting on your head and it watched you, what you do all day, it will notice in these two categories what you're doing or not doing. So I'll give you an example of me. One time, one of the goals I put down, when I put my doing and not doing, I noticed that during the day, instead of working on my goal, I must have watched social media repeatedly, stopped to read a book, snacked 10 times, and then still didn't work on my self-improvement goal. I still didn't do it because I was resisting it. So this doing and not doing for and Mary's, what she was doing was jumping in and talking over her coaching client, completing her coaching client's sentences, giving advice or telling her clients what they needed to do, and then rushing into the coaching session instead of being prepared. What she was not doing was developing her skills to be fully present with clients, slowing down and being fully present in the coaching session, and staying focused on her client needs. So you can see these are behaviors. They're not positive sentences. They have some tension in them because you're telling on yourself. You're sort of saying, yeah, I know I made a commitment to a goal, and now I'm going to tell on myself, I know I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do the things I need to do. So you might, because this is a new goal, you might imagine you're doing and not doing. Questions? Step 2, Lala. Thank you, Naheed.
Yeah, Linda, I was just going to ask you if it's okay, but I'm listening to you and then
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sort of repeating.
That's perfect. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, so what I'm going to do, we'll do the start again, minute and 30 seconds. Go ahead and do that. These are things that you do that go against you achieving your self-improvement goal. Sort of an unusual list that you're making. About 15 seconds left. You could just get like 3 or 4 doing, not doing, that would be good. Okay. So now what we're going to do is put you into breakout room, and you'll be in pairs. And then in the pairs, share your goal and share what you're doing and not doing list. And you'll have 10 minutes in the breakout, 8 minutes in the breakout sessions. And each of you take 4 minutes and monitor your own time to share your self-improvement goal and your step 2, doing and not doing.
We ready to put people into the breakout rooms?
Yeah, not me.
Okay.
You had one for me and I declined.
That's fine.
Okay.
You luckily got put in the single. I'm also going to pause the recording here. Recording going. Okay, we're back.
Okay. So anybody want to share what that experience was like, or questions that you have? We'll take a couple minutes and answer questions, or if you think it was weird or whatever's popping up.
For me, Linda, I'd say it was absolutely fine to share what my resistances were, what my struggle with the goal was.
Yeah.
And my coaching partner seemed to appear to feel the same way about her area.
Yeah.
And then we had a bit of time at the end, and my coaching partner asked me, "So what are you going to do about it?" And then I just hit the wall of flatness and no energy and no ideas. And I think that's what this process is about, is a bit like, look, I can be very knowing about what I'm not doing, but it still doesn't get any closer to doing it.
Well, Paul, thank you for that, because you just gave me a great opportunity to share something I had planned. So I've taught this a lot, and I had this happen a while back where we did column 2 and somebody announced in the group, she goes, "I got it. I know what to do now." And I'm like, wait, we haven't done the map yet. And she's like, "No, I know what behavior to change." So thank you for reminding me of that, because what happens here in step 2 is people look at this as a technical change. They think, I'm going to get a book, I'm going to get a podcast, I'm going to follow a recipe, but they're not talking about changing the container of who they are, their mindsets and associated behaviors. You can't get there at step 2. So that was great. Thank you for giving me that.
Thanks, Linda.
Yeah, who else? Anybody else want to jump in?
As you're talking about this, one of the things that I'm realizing is the goal that I have was never a problem prior to COVID.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's like, oh, actually, yeah, because like, why is this a problem anyway? Yeah.
yeah, a lot has happened pre, post, whatever, COVID. It's like, what was life like? Okay, well, let's go to the next step. And this one, again, I'm going to ask you to hang out with me on this. And move this little thing over again for me. La, la, la. Okay, so this is step 3. And there's 2 parts to step 3. The first part is the worry box. And here's what we're going to do. So you're going to look at what you wrote in step 2 and imagine doing the opposite of the behaviors you listed in step 2. So you're going to imagine doing the opposite. You're really going to picture yourself in a situation of doing the opposite of what you've listed. And then you're going to ask yourself, what do you feel? What concerns, doubts, anxieties, even fears emerge? Okay, so you're going to look at it. So the in this worry box, Mary put, and looking at doing the opposite of the doing and not doing, she wrote, why would clients hire me if I don't give advice? I fear I'm not a competent or skillful coach. If I'm not adding value, if I don't share my, I'm not adding value if I don't share my knowledge. I don't have the skills to deeply listen. So a lot of times when we're making lists like this, it feels like kind of a punch in the gut. And I see when people make the list, usually the last thing they write feels very dire. Like, I'm too stupid. I'm going to be a failure. There's no way I can do this. So this is where people are digging deep in the worry box. And so the worry we're looking for, like, it's a unique worry. The worry would be, what would be the worst thing about that for me? So in hers is like, if she did the opposite of jumping in and talking over her coaching client, what would be the worst thing for her? Well, the worst thing would be, well, she wouldn't get to use her knowledge. And if she didn't have her knowledge, then what's her purpose? So, I mean, this is kind of how you peel this back. And it's not about being noble. It's not about making excuses. It's not saying, well, I could have done better. It's not a happy box. It's a place, it's looking at where your resistance is happening inside of you. Because this is like looking at an X-ray of how we resist change. This makes it visible. This was the whole purpose. Let me find my little light again. This was the whole purpose of Kegan's and Lahey's latest thing, was to be able to make this a visible map that you could actually see how you're getting stuck, where you're getting stuck. Questions? We're just going to do one part at a time. You have questions? You ready? Okay. So, for the same drill, 90 seconds, write your worries in the worry box, just your worries. And I will start the timer. 90 seconds. Oops. You know what? I need to go back. Of the wrong map up. Sorry. About 15 seconds left. My sad little bell. Okay. We able to do that? Any questions? Anything come up? Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to write in your competing commitments. And again, I'll find my little spotlight. Okay. What you're going to do, you notice that step one is your self-improvement goal. And this, you're committed to this goal. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to, at the bottom of step 3, we're going to look at your competing commitment. That's not helping you over to achieve your goal. And in this box, it's real simple. And this is where you're going to follow my lead again, as you're going to turn the contents of your worry box into competing commitments. And you're going to do this in a very special way. You're going to write in front of each worry, I'm also committed to, and then write your worry. I'm also committed to, and it's a list. You're not overthinking it, you're creating a list. You're creating basically competing commitment statements. So questions here. Like what Mary did was she wrote, I'm also committed to never being seen or feeling I am not a competent coach. I'm also committed to never being seen or feeling I am not adding value. I'm also committed to never being seen or feeling I don't have the skills to deeply listen to my clients. Same, to never being seen or feeling that I can't solve the problem. So you can,
Linda, we have
yeah.
a question.
Got it.
And so it says, I noticed the commitments all start with to never. Is this important? The never?
Yes. Yep. Yep. So because what this is your up here where your worries are, you're collecting these deep-seated stresses about this goal. That's what's preventing you from this goal. And here on the competing commitment is I never want to be seen. So I don't want clients to think that I'm stupid. I don't want to be seen as stupid. So my commitment is I am not ever going to be seen I'm stupid. So I am not ever going to be seen as feeling like I'm not adding value. That's my statement. So this is hidden. This isn't obvious. This comes out through this work. But this is this emerges as we're looking at sort of the X-ray of our immunity to change. Immunity meaning our resistance, right? So I'm never going to be seen of not being able to solve problems. So that might feel weird for you right now, and you might think, well, I don't know if that's exactly true. So that's why I said, trust me and write it down anyway.
So Linda, would it be fair to say that what we're writing down is, I am also committed to never letting worry number one happen. I am also committed to never letting worry number two happen, etc.
No, what it is it's you're committed, your competing commitment is the other commitment you have. So, and you get to that commitment by the worries in this worry box. The worry box is giving you the juice or the information to create this commitment. And the first commitment is your goal. The second commitment is how you're resisting this goal. Does that make sense? No, it doesn't. Go ahead and ask.
To me, the
Well, you
way
know
I
what?
said it makes perfect sense, but it sounds like that's not the way it makes sense to you. So I don't want to create more confusion.
Yeah, what I would do is I would go ahead and write that down, and then let's see what happens when we make it over to the big assumption, because
It sounds like you're saying to never, and then basically make the worry happen, right? So
yeah. Well, the competing commitment is that you from the worries. Okay, let's start again. So you have self-improvement goal. You have what you're doing or not doing. These are behaviors. And then in the worry box, these are emotions. These are our feelings in here. And so when I said from the worry box, look over to the doing or not doing, and what do you feel if you said, I'm going to do the opposite of jumping in and talking over my client. I'm going to do the opposite. That means I don't get to give advice. And if giving advice is how I value myself, that's how I see myself as somebody that gives advice, even though I know it doesn't work well. Then the commitment is, I don't want to be seen as somebody not competent. I don't want to be seen as somebody not adding value. So hang in and go ahead and write that, because it does take a little while to get this, and then I'll give you some more context. So you ready? Goes 90 seconds again. Okay, so you're gonna just add, I'm also committed. So this is new. Kegan actually just added this also one, which I like. They keep refining it. Okay, 90 seconds. Did you hear that, Bill? Yeah. That's the fun one. I'll quit using the other one. Okay. So I'm going to give you a little more information, then I want to take questions. So let me grab this. Basically, when we get here, what you begin to see is that 1 foot on the gas over here, you've got your goal, and then 1 foot on the brake over here. And what you're doing at this part is you're looking to turn something you're subject to. You're subject to something here in the worry box, and turn it into an object to observe. So there's what, with the work of Kegan and Lahey and others, there's what they call subject object. There also is adult development theory baked into this. So I usually don't add that in anything I teach. However, this Mary is subject to her need to jump in and talk over her clients, completing sentences. So she feels she needs to do that. And she's, and then worried, she felt stress when she got here to see that, that was upsetting to find out if she did the opposite, then people would look at her like she was stupid. She was not valuable. So this is where she's feeling subject to. And then this right here is showing a statement that we need in order to do the big assumption. So we need this statement to move into the assumption, because that's how we're going to do a shift. Does this help a little bit, Lahey? I'm reading your face right now. I'm looking at you. Is there other questions? You okay?
Nothing in the chat box yet, but I think we should just clarify it, make sure everybody's tracking with this. How are you guys all doing?
They're really quiet. Well, I could, no, we probably don't have time. I think I should keep going and then see if we have extra time to maybe do a breakout or just more questions.
Okay.
Because I think, let's see. I think I'm good time-wise, but let's do the next one. Okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on big assumptions. So big assumptions are deeply rooted beliefs about us and the world around us. So we aren't conscious of our assumptions. They are just there. We don't even think to call them out. They're part of who we are. There's something we are unconscious of, and we believe them to be true. They're our version of the world, and we believe them to be true. And this is where we refer to it. It has you, you're subject to it. So in order to get the big assumption, we have to take the information from competing commitments and create an assumption. So there has to be something tense. This whole column has to stay tense and uncomfortable in order to get over to the big assumption. Okay. And so let's look at Mary's. So she took this list of commitments and she turned them into assumptions. Similar to what I'm going to ask you to do again is just to follow my lead, and you're going to add, I assume, if, then. So I assume, if, then. I assume if I'm not giving advice, then I am not adding value to the coaching session. I assume if I can't solve the problem, then I assume I won't be seen as a competent coach. I assume that I always have the right answer. I assume I need more skills to listen effectively. I assume I haven't developed the necessary skills to be able to listen deeply. I assume I haven't developed the necessary skills to be fully present with my clients. Usually what happens is people can take one of these commitments and come up with a whole bunch of versions of assumptions in here. So this box is pretty easy to fill up. So you're going to take your commitment as a list, so you don't even have to think about it. And you're going to just move it in to big assumption by saying, I assume, then if. And some version, it's not perfect grammar. We don't care about that. Okay, so questions? Like making sure you're all alive. Okay, so I'm going to give you the same amount of time to do that, and then we're going to talk before we do the rest of the stuff. Okay, so go ahead. Don't overthink it. Well, also while you're writing this, to consider your assumptions may not be true. You may write some of these down and say, well, that's not true. That's okay, just go write it down. Okay. let's take a few minutes here and see what you think with your list of assumptions. And also look at it and see if there's an assumption you want to test. So the one that Mary picked is, I assume I haven't developed the necessary skills to be fully present with my clients. So that's the one she wants to test. She wants to see if that's accurate or not. I'm going to share with you something too before I get more questions. So I'm part of a team that's using this work at a group called New Profit. It's for economic empowerment. And we all, a group of us that have been trained at Minds at Work, volunteered doing ITC maps with people who are struggling in various ways. My clients included a woman who'd been incarcerated for 10 years. And we taught all of us in our teams. I had 3 people. I taught them the basics of this map. And they didn't, you know, we might not have gotten all the extra detail, but all 3 people made extraordinary changes. They were extraordinary. When they began, and one of them was the woman who had been incarcerated, had an assumption nobody would hire her. And that was part of her parole, is to get hired. And so we worked on her assumption on how she could overturn her assumption no one would hire her. And she worked really hard on it and began to see. So the first organization actually that hired her offered her a job when they realized that they had to go through her parole officer, they rescinded it. And so I told her, go look for companies that hire people formerly been incarcerated. So she did. And it was hilarious. When she got the next job, she was screaming on the phone. And she goes, I got it. But she followed this. She realized she had assumptions. We didn't follow it exactly, but she realized that. The other woman I worked with, it was about, it was her age, it was identity. So we worked on her identity. And she did the same thing. It wasn't exactly, but she saw where she was stuck. She saw what she was subject to, a belief system. And then she saw how she could overcome that belief system, create something like an object to observe, to notice when that belief system kept coming up again and coming up again, so she could chip away with it. And the third woman, it was about health. It was her health and her weight. And she made not like huge progress to lose weight, but she lost, what she did was she gained insight into what was tripping her up so she could change those behaviors. So this can be applied for people job hunting and companies and teams, recovery programs. It's applied all over the place. So it seems a little complex, maybe, first time you see it. I'm guessing. But I just wanted to share these. I recently stopped working with all 3 of them. We've completed the program and it just was so exciting. So what's coming up for you with the big assumptions? You're like, yeah, do you have an assumption and you're like, I'm really curious about that. And I'd like to test that to learn more about it.
Who would like to share something about your map, some insight, and get some
Okay.
feedback from Linda? All right, go ahead.
My goal was to give up refined sugar. And one of the things that I didn't realize was that if I give this up, then some people may think that I'm trying to be better than them because they're not giving up sugar. Or I may not be part of the group because I'm not eating that donut that everybody's eating. And that's something I hadn't thought of.
Yeah, that's a fun one. I mean, you can see something simple you could do that with. Yeah. And you could draw your self-improvement goal out a little bit to be, as you're doing it in service of your health. So it's a bigger goal, as a piece of a bigger goal for you. Yeah. Who else?
Something I saw, Linda, was in my facilitation style, or kind of my style at life, really. I believe so much good can come in life when we stretch ourselves, and I think that probably plays into a lot of how I coach. Like gently, but a stretching process, and I have a resistance to a kind of hand holding, and therefore, there might be times when a hand holding is needed, and I miss it, and there's assumptions in there that I would say are akin to the kind of shadow work in the leadership circle, coming up against the one of those three areas, the protecting.
Yeah, so that's Paul, you're right on that. This is shadow, right? You're exactly right. I do the leadership circle, and so this is shadow, and you're bumping up against it in the reactive part of the leadership circle. Yeah. And so when you're doing it in that group, you're moving into the creative. How can you shift across to the other side of the map, into the creative side? Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's like you explained, that's real work to do. It needs to be seen. By the way, you did a great job of making the difference between subject and object clear. That I kind of really grasped it in a way I hadn't before. And I feel like with the shadow work, it is making it into the object, being able to see it clearly. And that's why it's not just a technical issue. It's like, okay, you can know it, but the knowledge doesn't sort it. So
Yeah. You're exactly right. So the goal is, in both types of work you're talking about, is to take what we're subject to, that we're unconscious about, and make it visible so that we can turn it into an object to observe, to reflect on, to notice, and then to see if we can let it go, turn it into a shift in our mindset and a new behavior. And I had a client quite a while back, and she would walk around. She had like this little egg. It was like a little glass egg. And she said when she was exploring her assumptions, she held it, the egg in her hand, so she could see she had an object to focus on. So she went from what is subject to what is object. And that is what the shift is, what we're subject to, what we're unconscious of, to what is object, which we can see and is visible. That's the shift there. And this also ties into the layers of adult development, socialized mind, self-transforming mind, and self-authored, self-transforming. So that's buried in here, but it's too much to talk about. Yeah, so anybody else want to share? We'll look at another slide. What did I do here? Turn off annotate. Okay, so here is, and Lahey, what's a time check? What's my timeline?
Well, I just checked. I thought we had till 8, but we technically have till 7:30. So, but I'll give you whatever time you need,
Okay.
and I hope the rest of you.
Oh yeah, I think we're doing good.
Okay.
Okay, so here's what you do with this now, that you have this assumption, and the process is actually wonderful. And this is in the slide you're getting. It's to design a test that's a SMART process. So if any of you study complexity theory at all, what happens with complexity is you're constantly poking a system to test it. You want to test ideas. You want to test how you can shift it. So the language is very similar in this. So a SMART process is you saying to yourself, whatever you want to test, is it safe? Is it modest? Is it actionable? Do you have a research stance? So you have information. And you test, you're getting data. So what you're looking for is disconfirming data. It's down here in the little green column, the little green section. You're looking for information that disconfirms your assumption. And so that's really key. And then you're wondering, so what data would lead you to doubt your big assumption? And what would this tell you about your big assumption? What what would you need to do to create best case scenario? What is the highest quality of data you can collect? And this is very coaching, you know, and this also aligns with some of the new competencies that ICF. You're looking at observable data, what you're feeling and what you're thinking. And then what else can you do to collect? It's really funny. One of my cats is trying to crawl up the thing next to me. I'm sitting there going, no. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So I did this quite a few years ago after I learned this. I did a map, and this is being recorded. This is horrifying. I did a map about my resistance to marketing and sales. And everybody that knows me knows I resist it. I resist it like nobody's business. I'm not going to do it. Nobody's going to make me. And so my map and my worry box and then my competing commitments, when I did my map, it said I'd rather die at the end than do marketing and selling. I mean, it was gut wrenching. It was horrible. So I went with a friend invited me to a networking group. And that was what I was resisting. I was like, I hate that. And also this was at a time I'd lost both my parents through Alzheimer's. And I think I had some anxiety at that moment. So I went with a friend to this networking group and I worked really hard. I practiced my 30-second elevator speech. And what was funny was as the group I got into stood up to give their elevator speeches, every single one of them was a coach. It was like 9 people. Coach, I'm a coach for this, I'm a sex coach, I'm a this coach, I'm a dating coach. And I'm like, I became speechless when it got to me. And to be honest with you, I still don't know what I said. Because I was testing, you know, could I go sell myself and promote myself? I was supposed to be doing a test. And I mumbled through something and they all just stared at me. And so then I went and sat down and I started laughing because like Kegan says about dying, I didn't die. And I thought, oh my God, I didn't die. I did the stupidest thing I could possibly do. I embarrassed myself like crazy, but I didn't die. So I decided that warranted a cookie. I got 2 cookies from them, got in my car, drove home, laughed all the way. And I'm sharing that because this is life. We have things that get in our way that we resist. And then if we can look at ways to loosen our grip, we can make a change. And it doesn't really matter what it is. But I mean, if you begin to think like this, you know, noticing that thing that you are subject to, and then look at opportunities to make it object, to explore it, to reflect on it, what you can see is you can make, you know, an amazing amount of changes from that. So I don't know if that helps or not. But again, disconfirming data. Also, I've had people tell me sometimes tests that they want to do that didn't sound safe to me. Like going in and telling their boss what they think of them. I said, that's not a safe test because they may reward you by firing you. So you don't want to do that. So it's baby steps. I had a client that I said to her on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you want to go on this? And she goes, a 3 would be good. And I said, and I was thinking she'd say 8. She said 3, let's do 3. And I go, okay, let's do 3. So it's like very small shifts that she made. Hers was courage. And she made very small shifts, but she continued to make them to this day. She's continuing to make them. Those very small shifts. It's just a natural part of who she is now. So, I mean, there's some really rich stuff here. I get excited. I'll have to be not so excited. Okay, so after you do your first test, then you want to interpret it. So you want to say, what happened? What data was collected? What does the data tell you about, what does it tell you? And is there alternative interpretations? So you're really thinking this through. What did you learn about your big assumption? And what do you want your next test to be? Because basically, you're going to play with tests over and over. As you poke at it and you make what you're subject to smaller and what you're, the object that you're working toward bigger. So there's that subject object move again. Just trying to see. What else did you do? Yeah, you're just constantly moving what you're subject to. So I have one more. This is just a little self-reflection, and I put it in the slides also. Is given what you've learned in this session, what might be possible now in your life and or your work, and what might not have been possible prior to this experience. So you can noodle over that. This is my last slide, and then we'll see what else is on your mind. Basically, keep fine-tuning. If you decide to do this on your own, keep fine-tuning your self-improvement goal. Keep selecting different big assumptions and run new tests. Try to make this a habit, testing ideas. It'll become part of your vocabulary. You can learn. Kegan has a lot of amazing books. And Over Your Head, if you want to geek out on Kegan's work, is one of the best books to read. It's a lot different than the Immunity to Change. You can hire a coach that takes you through the whole arc. This is the beginning of an arc of coaching that includes a biography, self-care. There's a whole lot of material in it. And so this is just one piece so that people can actually sustain the change. I'm thinking about doing a deep dive workshop still. And then I tell this to everybody, change is a journey. It can be messy. It's supposed to be messy, really. And development happens incrementally over time. Now I'm going to stop sharing. So
Now, we are at time, but what I want to do is normally what we would do at this time is go around and have people share their gems with Linda. I know a couple people had to get off right at 7:30, and Linda, they wrote you some really nice things in chat. And I would, if the rest of you would like to just kind of write in chat your gems for Linda, kind of what you got out of the session. That way I can read them all to her, and that way we won't go over too much in that type of discussion. Linda, do you have any last words?
No, I appreciate all of you for hanging in with this. It's a lot to take in. And this is Bella, and she's been trying to crawl up the blinds next to me. You're a bad girl. And I'm like, she's gonna rip them down. And so I appreciate this. This is a little different than other things you learn. I just think it's so valuable for coaches to understand. Yeah.
It is. And, at least the recording's still on. And I just want to share that one of my biggest personal growth breakthroughs came from going through this immunity to change map with Linda, probably about 5 years ago, or back when you were starting it. And I did a test. And in this particular one, my fear was that if I didn't do what other people wanted me to do, that they would not be my friend anymore. And so an unsafe test would be to on purpose not do something someone wanted me to do. And I was too afraid to do that. And so going through this map got me crystal clear on that. And so the test that I came up with, which was a safe test, was something like, if I think they want me to do something. And I still got just major revolutions from that. So that actually started a big shift in me that continued over the next few years and made a huge difference in my life. So this is powerful stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I'm going to read you a few of your gems as people are dropping off here. And then I'll stop the recording. So amazing process and very well presented. Thank you, Linda. Wishing everyone a great evening. Thanks, Linda. Great session. Got to go family time. Best to all. Thank you. I'm going to apply this methodology to 2 other important goals. Thanks so much. Loved having the table to capture as we went. Good night, everyone. Thanks so much. Very helpful. Thank you. Great session. Love testing the assumptions. Thank you for this illuminating presentation. I like the map as translating Kegan and Lahey theoretical work to a practical tool. This was great, Linda. Thank you so much for explaining this to us. I'll take this information forward for both myself and my clients. It was so enlightening. And I am going to turn off the recording.